my name is Cecilia, as some of you already know. And well, this is Coffee Breaks with here on Xperienceships Instagram. So Monday to Friday, we give you the opportunity to join us for a coffee break with a new cool professional each day. So this is like for you who wants to explore careers or like learn more about other fields that you're not in, or maybe a field that you're already in. So in a moment, we will invite Tom McLaughlin, who is an illustrator and a children's book writer. So he will join us for today's coffee break. So anybody of you like looking to explore a creative career, this is the place to be. So I'm going to invite Tom real quick. Let's see. So we already requested to join. There we are. Hey, Tom. Hi.
Can you hear me okay? Let me just adjust the camera.
Shaky. It's usually a little bit beginning. It's all right. I think it's all right. Oh, people joining. Waiting.
Wi-Fi. I think everyone's using all the Wi-Fi. That's better. Me okay?
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear. Yes, I can hear you now.
Is it a little bit? Is there a delay?
I don't think so. It's a little bit pixelated. I don't know. I'm not quite sure. The signal's maybe not great, but we'll see.
Maybe it's way too. Maybe I should. There we go. Can everybody see and hear us?
That's a bit better.
Yeah? Okay, good. It was my Wi-Fi too.
Okay.
How are you doing, Tom?
I'm good. Apart from Wi-Fi problems, whenever I think it seems that everything's really pixelated. We're living in a brand new pixelated world where everyone's trying to connect and things like that. And yeah, so apart from sort of the odd technical problems from working from home, life is okay on lockdown.
Yeah, because you're in the UK, right?
Yes, yeah, Exeter, Devon. So yeah, we had some sunshine last week, which was nice, just in time. But it's gone away now. It's all grey. So yeah, things are okay. Things are a bit weird, but we're sort of all kind of pulling together. So it's so far
by the day.
Yeah. It's but yeah, it's okay. It's okay.
That's cool. That's good. So you're a children's book writer and an illustrator.
Yes, both jobs. 2 jobs for the price of 1.
That's really cool. I was gonna ask you to summarize your career so far.
Okay.
And I'm going to time you. So I'll give you a minute. And
okay.
We don't take the whole interview for that.
Okay.
I think
we can do that. We can
do
that. Okay.
Yeah?
Yes, let's go for it. Okay. My whole career in a minute.
Yeah. Starting
okay, tell me Yes.
No, but from formal education until where you are now.
Okay.
Sort of. Just in short, if we go under a minute, that's fine too.
I'll just make some stuff up if it looks like we're falling short. Are we go? Are we 3, 2, 1, go?
I'll go 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, so yes, so I'm an author and illustrator. I've been doing that for about sort of 15 years. So before that, I was just an illustrator. So I started out at kind of school. I was a very sort of average kid. I didn't do particularly well at school. Not quite sure why. It seemed that sort of everyone else was having a better time than me at school, and I sort of it wasn't a happy place for me, and it's since discovered that it was because I'm dyslexic. So for me, school was not a happy place. What was a happy place was kind of messing around with pencils, drawing, and things like that. So I didn't, I sort of managed to scrape by school, and it was basically waiting to leave school so I could go to art college. That's when I was kind of free, and sort of, that's what I was looking forward to. So I went to art college, went to Falmouth, studied illustration, was lucky enough to get a job as a political cartoonist. That's not a minute, is it?
That was a minute.
No way. No way.
I'll let you finish.
That's rubbish. Okay.
I'll let you finish.
It does, yeah. I spent too long talking about the school days, the bad old days. So yeah, I was studied illustration at Falmouth. Then I was a political cartoonist. Went straight into that from art college, caricaturing, satirical stuff. Did that for about 10 years, then started to kind of, I was drawing pictures and writing jokes and thinking, hang on a second, why don't, instead of watching the news all the time, which is a depressing show, start to make up my own stories, start to make up my own world, started to do that, started to make some animations, learning kind of how to string jokes and turn them into a narrative. Then was lucky enough to get a literary agent and a TV agent, and has sort of been working in publishing ever since. So I write and illustrate for Bloomsbury, Oxford University Press, Walker Books, and I've illustrated for Puffin, Egmont, Simon and Schuster, to name a few. So yes, there we go.
Wow, many big players in there.
Yes. Yeah. I've been really sort of lucky enough to sort of work for some really, really good people. But I spent quite a lot of time illustrating other people's books before my own sort of writing career sort of took off. So now I don't tend to illustrate other people's work. It tends to be my own stuff. So I write and illustrate picture books for quite young kids, sort of 6s and under, and then chapter books, comedy books for sort of kids up to the age of about 11 or 12.
Wow, okay. That's cool. How come you chose kids' books?
I guess it's just being a big kid. I think that's what it is. being sort of dyslexic, I wasn't an avid reader. I love stories at school and things like that, whether I got them through audiobooks or TV. So I loved all that sort of stuff and Steven Spielberg films. And because I wasn't an avid reader, I guess I'm trying to write books that I would want to read as a kid. So that's kind of the world I'm sort of stuck in, and I love it. Occasionally people say to me, do you have a fancy writing a proper book? I go, what? Kids' books are proper books? Yeah,
they are.
Yeah. So no, I think kids stuff is great, and you don't get to draw pictures for grown-up books, do you? Really, there's far fewer pictures involved. So
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I'm quite happy in my world of kids' books.
That's really cool. We already have a question here from Teresa.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so she's wondering how you got an agent.
It was luck as much as anything. I was sending out work, stories, ideas for books for about 4 or 5 years, not really getting anywhere. Sending them out to agents and sort of getting rejection letters and things like that, which was quite annoying. But it's part of the process. It's paying your dues, isn't it? I think you've got to go through your certain amount of rejection. Then I happened to be working on an animation idea that the BBC were interested in, and another animation company wanted to work with me, and someone said, you probably should think about getting an agent. So I approached an agency that handles sort of TV work as well as books, and they were sort of willing to take me on. So yeah, it was a case of I needed an agent and sort of getting on the phone and saying, I've got a bit of a problem. How do I solve this? And sending out ideas and things like that. And eventually, I guess my ideas got better, my stories got better, my drawings got better, and that's how, eventually an agency picked me up, so I was very lucky.
Yeah, that's awesome. But, as you said, 4 or 5 years of rejection.
Yeah.
How did you deal with that?
You just dust yourself off and get up and do it. I think it's sort of, if you imagine like a 100-meter race, and there's 10 people who want to do your job. So you all start off, and all have an idea and write a story off, send it out. Maybe everyone gets a rejection letter. Maybe 2 people drop out of the race. The next kind of 8 keep going. They send out more stuff. They get a bit further along. Maybe 2 years down the line, a couple more people drop out of the race. I think sort of just the process of keep going and keep trying and keep picking yourself up, keep believing in yourself. Eventually, tenacity means that you sort of look around you, kind of go, I'm still going when other people have given up. I think, as much as anything, that's a lot to do with it.
Yeah, just keep going, keep trying.
Keep going. Yeah. And if if it makes you happy and you keep believing in yourself and you have lots of ideas and you improve, your work evolves, then there's always a kind of, it gives you energy, I think.
Yeah, that's good. That's good advice.
Thank you.
Yeah. I have another question that was asked on Instagram, actually. I'm moving a lot away from the script. From the questions I sent you. But we have a question here from Alba, actually, from our team. And she's wondering, what your creation process is like. That's something you can describe.
It varies from book to book. So some ideas might sort of land fully formed in your head, a kind of complete concept for a story, and you're kind of right, I'll write this down. Some might be something you say, you kind of hear or you see that sort of triggers something. You kind of go, oh, that's an interesting thing that you then kind of play around with and chew over in your head. So there is no kind of, this is how ideas come, this is how sort of books are made. So it's a process of, because I'm dyslexic, I think I'm quite visual. So I sort of draw a lot of my stories. So I might have an idea and draw like a sort of diagram, a spider diagram of, okay, so the story could go this way or it could go that way. Start to do little drawings of characters, and once you start to look at the characters, it might inspire you to choose a different story or change the story. So pictures kind of help the words, and words kind of help the pictures. So from that, it's then a question of taking an idea and making it into a kind of a page-long story, whether it's a picture book or a chapter book. A few little drawings, have a look, send it out to your agent, see what she says, then kind of expand on it. Okay, well, if it's a chapter book, maybe it needs a 4-page synopsis. So, okay, let's do those. A few characters, a few character descriptions, a few drawings to go with it. Make it nice and visual so that if you send it to a publisher, they're kind of like, oh, this is really exciting. I want to look. I want to see what happens. Basically, yeah, kind of, it's learning to sort of pitch. Making a trailer for your book, I suppose, in like a movie trailer whenever you're sending things out, is something that kind of gives them a little bit, gives them enough, but not the whole story. So yeah, it's mostly, it starts off with a drawing, and then the kind of words come later, just because it's that sort of process of drawing it and creating it that it really sparks the words with me. That's how I sort of start.
Yeah, I get it. That's cool. Thank you for your answer. I hope that helps you as well.
No worries.
Yeah. Now, moving on a little bit more to your day-to-day, since you have sort of a non-traditional profession,
yeah.
or at least, yeah, for the general public, I'd say. What's your day-to-day? Do you work from home? Do you go to an office?
No, I work at the Generator, a lovely co-working space in Exeter, at the Quay, which is lovely. Everything's kind of gone into hibernation at the minute, so I'm working at home. I miss the office, and I miss my friends, and I miss my co-working co-workers. It depends what I'm doing. If some days I've just finished writing a manuscript, so that was the 30,000 words I had to write. So that was basically get in, earphones in, put some music on with no lyrics, some instrumental music, and just get writing. Yeah. Other times it might be that I have half a day's writing, half a day's drawing. I work now completely digitally, so all my books are illustrated on an iPad Pro. So everything. Basically, it's gone from my entire studio being in a spare room in the house with, you know, paper and pens and all that sort of thing. Now it can fit in my bag, and I can take it wherever I go. So I can write on the train if I'm doing visits to schools or events. I'm in a hotel, got my iPad, and I can do some drawing there. So I do love the technology. I love what it can do. You can turn drawings into animation. It's just a sort of fantastic way, and it sort of inspired me to create more, I think, than just sort of simply having a kind of sketchbook and pad. It means that I can kind of think like an animation, turn little pictures for books into little animated things or something like that, or put stuff out on social media. So I love all the technology side of it. So it's basically, yeah, in front of an iPad, earphones in drawing or earphones in writing. And yeah, sometimes it's you know, just head down doing a lot of writing or a lot of drawing. Other times I quite like it when you kind of have a day of drawing and then next day you've got a day of writing. It kind of keeps everything fresh.
Changing it up a bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, but you mentioned also that you go around to schools doing events.
Yes.
What's that side of your profession?
So yeah, I mean it took me a long time to sort of get used to that, because I think a lot of authors, a lot of illustrators tend to be sort of people who hide away and create without anybody looking. They tend to be quite shy, timid people. So when books start getting published and they sort of, right, okay, you've got to go and speak to 200 people for an hour, you're like, what? I don't want to do that. So it's taken me about 5 or 6 years to get used to doing that and get used to the kind of putting on a kind of public persona. So we've just had World Book Day over here. That was about a month ago, which for authors it's a hugely important time of the year, because there are so many kind of events where you're going around to schools. It's a good income for sort of jobbing authors and illustrators, talking to kids, reading your stories, doing drawing, going back to the iPad, and I can sort of plug this into a PowerPoint. I can do some drawing and the kids can see it on the sort of big screens, and they love the technology side of it as well. So again, it means that my studio goes wherever I go. So yeah, I did about 11 schools in about 2 weeks. I do sort of literary festivals as well, although in the last sort of couple of weeks I've had maybe 5 or 6 events, school visits, a couple of festivals, me talking, giving some keynotes to teachers. They've all been cancelled at the minute, so it's it's quite.
I was going to ask you that, like, how has this situation?
We just because of sort of World Book Day, we just kind of, I know a lot of authors managed to get everything sort of done just before everything closed down and the schools all closed down. I hope everyone got paid, because once the schools closed down, you're kind of chasing people for invoices and things, which is always the fun part of being freelance, isn't it? So yeah, it's mostly been fine, and yeah, I'm sort of 5 or 6 events in the grand scheme of things is annoying, but you know, as long as everyone's kind of safe, and hopefully things will sort of change when things are better. You know, those events that were postponed, we can get back to doing again. But you know, how it's going to sort of be down the line, because bookshops have closed, so I don't know whether books will then be postponed. There's been the sort of London Book Fair that was postponed, the one in Bologna, the big sort of children's book festival in Bologna, that was cancelled. So all these kind of big kind of industry events have all sort of stopped. So at some point there's going to be sort of consequences, whether it's books being delayed or being cancelled. I'm not quite sure yet, but you know, hopefully it will, you know, the sooner things get back to normal, I think for everyone, the better. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah. Well, yeah. It's getting into every industry, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's completely, you know, saturated, and I don't know anyone who's not been affected by it. It's like living in a news story, isn't it? It's sort of, it's living in a Netflix special, but a kind of really, really quite long, boring, and terrifying one all at the same time.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, hopefully we'll all get out of this soon enough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you're like stuck at home right now?
So my routine has changed from, so I used to go into the office from about sort of 9 until kind of 5, which was lovely because I'd spent sort of 15 years working from home. So working in a place where you can just kind of do your work in the office and then come home and not have to work, it was lovely. But now it's sort of having to juggle work and 2 very small housebound children. It's sort of, while trying to keep my wife sane as well, making sure that she's not kind of having to do everything. So we're sort of having to sort of split the day, but it's kind of is what it is. But we're really lucky because we've got a garden, which means that kids can go out and play, and as I say, the weather's been fairly kind. So we're doing a lot of baking. We're doing a lot of baking and eating cakes and drinking wine. I'll be honest, there's quite a lot of wine drinking. It's mainly from us, not the kids.
To keep ourselves occupied, no?
Yes, yeah. The good news is though, we ordered an exercise bike and that's just arrived, which means that we can carry on drinking wine and eating cakes. I think that's what it means, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you have to keep that exercise going. Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay healthy. Stay safe. Stay sanitized and stay healthy.
Yeah. That's the dream.
Yeah. So let's move on a little bit. Teresa actually just mentioned a question that I also had for you. Like, do you have a few tips for or advice to anybody who would like to enter your industry?
Again, apart from that sort of keep going, keep believing in yourself, keep sort of trying to. It's really difficult because it's really easy to kind of go to bookshops and go to Waterstones, for instance, and look at all the kids' books that are out, and kind of you end up sort of almost going down a rabbit hole where you're kind of so inspired and so surrounded by all this kind of stuff that it can kind of pull you in lots of different directions. So I sometimes not being aware of what other people are doing can be quite a good thing. Keeping your sort of head down and keeping your ideas true to yourself without being too inspired. It's a bit like when you sort of go on Pinterest or something like that and you kind of go, I'm looking for this. You go on Pinterest and before you know it, you're kind of like, now I have a million ideas instead of not having any, which is not necessarily better. So keep going, keep believing in yourself. And I think the best advice is write the books that you would want to read as a kid. And that's the sort of the books that I'm still trying to write. I'm still trying to write those, every day, try and write something that I would love to read as a kid.
Yeah, and I guess that goes for other types of books as well, and like creative pieces. Like
no one would want to read something that you wouldn't want to read yourself. So that's you're basically, as the creator, you're the kind of most important person. As an audience member as well, you've got to kind of be entertained and entertain yourself. I've noticed that if I procrastinate, particularly if I'm writing and I'm starting to stare out the window and getting a bit distracted, then I kind of know that's a sort of warning sign that there's something wrong with what I'm writing. Something's not working. If it's working, then I'm kind of heads down and I want to write it. If it's not and I'm a bit sort of staring out the window, I know there's probably something not quite right with the narrative and that needs fixing, or the characters all need swapping around. So that would be another tip.
That's cool. Great. What would you would like to enjoy yourself? Yeah, that's cool. That's great. Oh my God, we have so many questions from the audience here. It's awesome.
Okay.
So Tamsin is asking, what's your favorite thing to draw? Like your favorite phone call doodle.
My favorite thing to I draw cats quite a lot. As a sort of I don't know, it's like a sort of go-to thing. If I'm kind of messing around with a new drawing app, I'll just draw a cat. because I don't know why. It's just something, my go-to drawing thing. I think, they're good fun to draw, aren't they? Cats are good fun to draw. Yeah. I'll tell you the worst thing, while I'm on it, the worst thing to ask an illustrator to draw is a horse, really tricky, bicycles, really tricky. So if you ever get if I ever get the book where someone says, we need someone to draw a horse on a bicycle, I'm going to say no. But you will notice a lot of pictures of horses in kids' books. The horse tends to be stood behind a big fence or a tree or something like that, so no one has to draw the legs. Horses are really annoying to draw because their legs are on kind of weird and backwards.
Yeah,
so there you go.
Yeah.
Horses and bicycles.
Horses and bicycles. Don't attempt a horse or a bicycle.
No, that's advanced illustrating. That is. Start off with something simple.
Yeah. As a cat.
Start off with the cat.
That's cool. Thanks. So I think we're gonna start and round off this interview, Tom. But I wanted to ask you something that we ask all our guests.
Okay.
I don't know if you have prepared this, but if you could give us 3 Instagram accounts that you want.
Oh yeah, no, I have prepared this. I will. Hang on, I can't remember what they're called though, because people's names aren't there. So in terms of one of the people I really like, Lindsey Hunter. That's Linzie Hunter, all one word. She's a really, really good illustrator. Her stuff is lovely, but she also she likes to use sort of technology, and she makes GIFs and little animations, and yeah, it's just really kind of, I look at her kind of Instagram feed and get sort of pangs of jealousy that she sort of, the colours that she uses are really nice and the characters are really nice, and yeah, she seems like a very nice person too, so I really like her stuff. I've just started following someone called Bonby Forest, Bonbi Forest. She's called Lee Foster Wilson. She's another illustrator from Cornwall, but her stuff is really very, very different, but sort of very sort of beautiful and ethereal. And yeah, just kind of her Instagram feed it's nice. It's not just kind of illustration. It's a bit of a sort of peek into her kind of life and her world. So I really like her. And Procreate, the people who make the app Procreate. Really, really good. It's a brilliant app. I use a couple of different apps, but one of them is Procreate. But there's loads of kind of tutorials on their stories, and they're always sharing people's work. So they not only make a really good app, but they kind of show you all that it can do. And if you're a sort of beginner and you're interested in, maybe drawing on an iPad, have a look at Procreate, and you'll see all the kind of things it can do, all the kind of hints and tips and things like that. But they're really good.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
No worries. Thank you.
Unless there's anything else you want to share, Tom?
I didn't think so. Just everyone hunker down, stay safe, drink lots of wine and eat lots of cake. Can you say that as a children's author? I'm not sure that's responsible, is it? Eat cake responsibly, kids. That's all I'll say.
Oh, amazing. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Thank you.
Yeah, and we'll post all the Instagram accounts and everything on our feed so that people can access them.
Brilliant, marvelous. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for joining us, Tom.
No worries. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye. There we go. So thank you all for joining today's coffee break. It been great having you. And by the way, I need to give you all a shout out because we have increased our following on Instagram from like 5 to 70 in a week's time. And we are so happy about it. So just get all your friends on here. Tomorrow we are having Darren Hunt on. He's a UX designer. So he will talk all the design stuff tomorrow, and I'll be hosting tomorrow as well. And follow us on here so you get notified when we go live. And yeah, I don't know, just keep on exploring your careers, guys, and stay sane. And I'll see you all tomorrow. Same time, same place, same day.